Good morning, everybody. This is Vinny Maletti with the Maletti Law, the strongest name in law. I am the leader, owner, founder of Maletti Law and the home of the unusually motivated movement, the future of law. This video, before we even get started, click on that YouTube link below, subscribe so you don't get lost. So when we get, whatever it is, so new videos that come, because I'm always dropping knowledge bombs here, always dropping out awesome, great legal advice at no cost, just free deliverables, just crushing it, building unusually motivated people to fight for their rights. Okay, and join the newsletter. Go to www.malettilaw, MILETTILAW.com, www.malettilaw.com. You're going to see a pop-up with a gladiator with a double bicep pose. Click on the bottom of that gladiator, sign up for the page, sign up for the newsletter. All right, let's get down to it. So as you're probably all aware, I've been very active, very vocal in working with nurses, other medical practitioners that are going to be running into a world of nonsense thanks to these stupid regulations because of the scamdemic. So, first we're going to get started. The name of this video is going to be the 5 essential principles underlining the conscientious objector bucket. The 5 essential principles underlying the conscientious objector bucket. Now, let me explain. As you're probably aware, I've been working with a lot of medical people, and you all have three different types of claims, right? Those who are looking for religious exemption, who don't want the shot, those who don't want the jab because of their medical exemption, because you have some kind of medical issues or medical concerns, and then there's that third bucket that, you might say religious, you might say whatever the reason is, but the fact of the matter is you principally are opposed to the shot, right? There's other reasonable grounds why you're opposed to getting the jab. I like to, from a legal perspective, right? I mean, if I'm going to be a professional lawyer, I have to give you kind of like a professional name. So this is the conscientious objector bucket. But in reality, this is what Vinny Maletti likes to call the "don't fucking tread on me" bucket. And that's really what it boils down to. So in a sense, we're really looking to, the whole idea behind this bucket is you oppose on your principles. You know this is fundamentally wrong. like the science is not helpful. It's dangerous. All of this. It's all out there. But there's like this cognitive dissonance in this world of 1984 that we live in that just seems to just disregard all of this and tell you how healthy and safe all this is, right? So so healthy and so safe that they have to compel it and threaten force on you because it's health and safety. Okay, so let's get down to it, right? So this really is going to be the hardest bucket. I always say, the medical exemption is going to be the easiest one because, you have a lot of ADA case law, and it's ADA. I can get fees. We can get fees. We can get money back, right? Cool. Then you have the religious exemption. Still Title VII, a little more challenging, but I really doubt tremendously a lot of these things in New York are ever upheld by a court. By like a rational Supreme Court, not a New York State Court judge who just says, we can't opine on this because we can't question the state. Whatever. They don't even opine. They just reject and they don't give an opinion, right? So I find but whatever. Point is, I think we still win on religious exemptions because there still is a religious liberty interest in this country. I just think that's going to be a little bit harder to fight over, and it's going to be less lucrative. Then you have my personal favorite. It's the conscientious objector bucket, the principled bucket. My personal favorite. This bucket is the bucket filled with unusually motivated people because all we are looking for in this is we're going to be getting injunctive relief, no money. Whatever the case is. Maybe we get something. I don't know. I'll look it up. I have no idea if we're going to... I never actually taken... we've never gotten so far to go to trial. Usually these things get rejected all the time on these cases. But whatever. This time it's different. This time we're going to keep pushing. We're not going to give a shit. We're going to find people. We're going to get help. But point is, this is the best bucket. This is the most fun bucket. This is the best bucket out there. This is designed for the unusually motivated people, right? So whatever, let's get down to it. What are the 5 principles, right? Because we need to be aligned. So you need to understand what those 5 principles are. These 5 principles come from the common law, statutory, and codified rights. They come from the case law. They come from the, what's known as the New York Court of Appeals, which is the highest court in New York. The highest court in New York is the New York Court of Appeals. The Supreme Court is the entry-level court. Don't get it twisted. The Supreme Court, obviously, on the federal level, is the highest. On the state level, the highest is the New York Court of Appeals. Okay? So we have now 5 principles that come from the Court of Appeals in New York. So let nobody tell you they don't exist. These 100% exist in the federal district, in the Supreme Court. 100% exist. So not worried about that. Let's take it just to the state courts, okay? So just under the state law, principle number 1, you have a common law, statutory, and codified right in this state to, as a competent adult, to make a rational determination in the course of your own medical treatment. You have an established right in this state as a competent adult to determine the course of your own medical treatment. Read from the case law, read from the public health law, okay? Number 1, principle 1. Principle 2, you have a constitutionally protected liberty interest, all right? A right to liberty, a right to freedom, right to decide. Constitutionally protected liberty interest. Your third principle, you have a constitutionally protected right to your own bodily integrity, meaning that no one controls your body in New York, okay? You have your own you have a constitutionally protected right to your bodily integrity. Principle number 4, you have a constitutionally protected right to resist unwanted bodily invasions, which means putting things in your body. You've seen this in many times before, okay? You've seen this with you see this with like drug testing, with blood work. You see this with abortion. You see this everywhere. Nothing is different now. You have a constitutionally protected right in New York to resist an unwanted bodily invasion. And the 5th principle that we're going to talk about here, just like you have a right to choose what you decide for your own course of medical treatment, you also have a constitutional common law, statutory, and codified right in the same way to refuse a treatment, to look at the studies, be rational, and refuse treatment. You have a protected right to do this. So do not get it twisted, people. You have 5 specific rights, 5 principles here. That was the 5th principle, okay? An easy way to think of these, because, I like to speak in, what do they call them, acronyms or something. An easy way to speak of this, I call it the really bird interest. You have a really bird interest, RLI BIRD, really bird interest. And the really bird interest is made up of, in very shorthand, you could remember it. You have a really bird, you have an R, right to the course of, you have the right to refuse a course of treatment. So the first R is the refusal of treatment, okay? LI, really, RLI. The second principle is liberty interest. You have a liberty interest. You have your own liberty interest in deciding where you want in controlling your life under the Constitution of the state, of the federal government, common law, and codified. So that's RLI. You have the right to refuse treatment, and you have a liberty interest, RLI, really, and then bird, BI, bodily integrity. You have a right to bodily integrity. So another principle, an interest, you have bird, you have bodily integrity. R, the second one, resist invasions. You constitutionally can resist invasions to your body because of that bodily integrity. And D, the end, for the bird, the really bird, you can determine your own course of treatment, yay or nay, yes or no, where you want to go with that. So you have a really bird interest. You have the right to refuse a course of treatment. You have a liberty interest. You have a bodily integrity interest. You have the right to resist invasions in your body. And you have the right to determine the course of treatment. Now, just really quickly to touch on it. Okay, so in what sense could obviously the government could take action that could impose on your really bird interest, right? So, the government could take action, could impose on your really bird, on your RLI, BIRD, on your really bird interest. And when does that happen? So the state, if the state needs to affect a compelling state interest, then they, only in that instance can they infringe on your constitutionally protected rights, your really bird interest, your constitutionally protected rights. Only if there's a compelling state interest. But, what's the standard for determining that compelling state interest? Well, that standard is known as strict scrutiny. That is the strict scrutiny. That is the level of scrutiny, the level of analysis that goes into a decision on whether or not a state can violate your constitutional due process rights because of a compelling state interest. So, in a test for strict scrutiny, the state must show A, that there was a compelling state interest. Compelling just meaning it's a really important interest of the state to promote. That, it's just a really important interest of the state to promote that they could infringe on your constitutional rights to do so. So, a state, in order to satisfy strict scrutiny requirement, the state must show the compelling state interest, must show that the means chosen by the state are absolutely necessary to accomplish the goal, meaning that that is the only way they can accomplish their goal. They can't accomplish their goal in any other way. If you show any other way, it's not strict, it's not necessary, okay? Even if that's the only way to accomplish their goal, necessarily accomplish their goal, they have to show that it's been narrowly tailored to further the asserted interest, meaning that, again, it has to be just the strictest, slightest thing that they could possibly do, narrowly tailored, not to bleed on everything else, to just affect that one specific interest, that one specific line of thought. Okay? Again, this is both Supreme and State Court. This is not bullshitting. This exists. Okay? The final point is that the element of strict scrutiny is designed to ensure that the means chosen fit the compelling goal so closely that there's little or no possibility that there could be any other kind of motive that this was illegitimate or that this was based on some kind of, discriminatory animus or whatever the case is. So, in other words, that this is the test that's needed to show that not only does the state have a compelling state interest in order to go ahead and overtake your constitutional right, your inherent constitutional right, but also show that that truly is their motivating factor, that it's not based in any other kind of discriminatory interest, that they're not looking to, there's no other kind of, nefarious motive underlining it. So that's the level of scrutiny that the court needs to review this on. And we will get there. But now it's going to be a struggle. But the purpose of this video was just to get us all aligned on what are those interests. When we say the conscientious objector, when we say the don't tread on me group, what are those 5 interests? What are those 5 principles that we're looking to push? The 5 principles are: 1, as a competent adult, we can determine the course of our own treatment. 2, that we have a constitutionally protected liberty interest. 3, constitutionally protected bodily integrity interest. 4, that we have a right to resist unwanted bodily invasions and foreign presences in our body. And number 5, that not only do we have a right to choose our treatment, we have a right to reject the treatment that we don't approve, that we don't want, based on a competent, rational adult's decision-making process. We call those your really bird interest. These are my really bird interests, folks. The right to refuse the course of treatment. We have a liberty interest. We have a bodily integrity interest. We have a right to resist invasions and a right to determine the course of treatment. Really bird. So I hope this was helpful. When you talk to your friends, you can say really bird. Just spell it out so they don't think you're crazy. I use terms like this because A, I think they're funny and you remember funny stuff. And B, I'm also furious this morning from the bird that sat outside my window and decided to chirp at 5 a.m. and figured he or she, whatever that bird is, was just going to thought I needed to get up at 5 after going to bed at 3 o'clock last night. So, there you have it, folks. The 5 essential principles underlying the Conscientious Objector bucket. Yours in law, love, and lifts. Let's get it. Be unusually motivated. Unvaxxed. Unmasked. Unapologetic. Unbreakable. Unfuckwittable. Have a beautiful day.